How to write the best story ever is a question which every author wrestles with all the time. Now, this is a question which I am also trying to find an answer, but I think and I kind of don't get it completely when I sit down to write, but when I sit down to read, I somehow get a sense of what is it that actually makes a story worthwhile, that actually makes a story work and strong from more than one point of view. Now, before I go on with this, I must warn you that most of the times I have a very abstract way of talking about things when it comes to creativity. And this is something which a lot of my students used to sit down holding their heads कि ये क्या बात कर रहा है, मेरे को कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा, हम बात कुछ और कर रहे थे, ये बात कहीं और ही ले गए. But I think that's how it works when it comes to creativity, because if someone starts to spoon feed you and tell you that do A B C, do 1 2 3 4 5, and that's it and things will be done, then I don't think it works like that. Because if you have that kind of an approach, you will always completely fail to discover your own style. And if you do not discover your own style, sooner or later you will just get lost in the crowd. And that I believe that is not something which someone is looking for. And we all strive to, have our own individual style and our own individual mark and expression when it comes to creating anything. So hence my abstract way of explaining things. Now, a very simple thing. I think a story definitely needs to be engaging. It needs to grab your mind. It needs to hold your attention and keep your interest. And it needs to have those hook points, and it needs to have those cliffhangers and all of that, which you will get in so many texts out there that that's the kind of information that is very easy to get. So I'm not going to dwell on that. And when I said that I will be talking abstract and not give you some objective points to do, this is what I meant. So according to me, having all those ingredients and all those elements in place, which I just mentioned very swiftly, what apart from that is most important is that a story must always make you think. And before going on, I will explain something which most of the literature students out there would already be familiar with: stream of consciousness. A good story has to trigger your stream of consciousness. Now, for those who do not know what stream of consciousness is, it is like the thread of thoughts that move on. So like if you look at something, you think of something, that something reminds you of something else, and that something reminds you of something else, and so on and so forth. So this is what stream of consciousness is. The first time, I believe, according to the kind of information that I have gathered and researched, the first time it was done by Marcel Proust for his huge magnanimous work called In Search of Lost Time. Now that's such a long piece of literature that I have still not been able to finish it, and I'm still struggling with it. But that was the first time when it is said that, and it was written in French. So the first time the stream of consciousness was introduced in literature. If I am wrong, please correct me. Tell me in the comments that this was not so and there was someone else who had done this before that. So I would like to know that as well. Coming to English literature, Virginia Woolf is supposed to be the queen of stream of consciousness, and I happened to read one of her novels, which is called Mrs. Dalloway, as a part of my literature course, and I have to say it was such a pain when I was reading it, and it was not pleasant, and it was just not pleasant. But after reading that novel, uh, there was a lot of take home from that. There was so much that I understood, and it helped me in my writing so much that I think at times you do have to read certain pieces of literature which you particularly do not enjoy but have a lot to learn from. So a good piece of literature, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that in order to write good literature you have to follow this technique of stream of consciousness. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you read something, it should trigger a stream of consciousness for you. I'll give you a little example. So I'm a part of a book club, and we were discussing a book which is called A Crime is Born a Crime. So when we were discussing that book, one of the club members said that while she was reading that book, she felt very guilty that there are certain people who are so underprivileged and who face so much of struggle in their life, and we get so much so easily, and still we keep complaining so much. And that was an idea which she found a little unsettling. Now when she mentioned that, it reminded me of my trip to Europe when I had gone there and I saw everyone was just so happy. And then I was like, why don't we live like this in India? And why are we so bogged down with all those things here? And then I felt that it is so because people here are not so privileged. There are so many problems here. We don't get good medical facilities here. The education is in a mess. The infrastructures are terrible. The roads are broken. There are piles and piles of garbage everywhere. The kind of food that you are having, many times you are not sure if it's hygienic enough. There are so many issues everywhere. So if there are so many issues, how can someone have a very happy life? And for a minute I was considering that, do I want to shift there and have a life like that? And then I felt that no, I don't want that, because and I won't be able to do that, because somewhere deep down inside I will always have my connections here back in India, and I will always keep feeling guilty that there is something that I can go back and do for those people and make their lives better in some way or the other. And I would keep feeling guilty all the time. And then a few days back, I was watching this YouTube channel, which is made by this very innocent family who live in a village, and they just keep uploading videos about, they're going to the fields today, and then they're gonna do this, and then there's this dog at their doorstep and they're feeding them, and then the cats came and this and that. So all of that, and they actually genuinely come across as a family who are very happy. Now they're not living in a big city. They do not have the most fanciest of things that people in the big cities have, but they seem to be way happier than most of the people living in the big cities. So talking about privileges, do the privileges make people happy or not? Now then I started thinking about the Big Boss that most of the people watch, and then I was like, that why do people watch Big Boss? One, because uh, it is so ugly to watch them fighting all the time. One, and two, those are some very privileged set of people. And if they are quarreling like that, even if it is scripted, and even if they are asked to fight like that, they're doing it, and they're doing it to get more money. So what does that has to say about being privileged and being happy? And these are the kind of thoughts I got, and all of this basically started from that one mention of this one thing from that book, A Crime is Born, that there are people out there who are less privileged than us, and that is a thought which may be unsettling for some people. Now this is the stream of consciousness that I'm talking about, that when you read something, the text, things that they're talking about should be so powerful that it shoots a train of thought like that. Talking about train of thought, the stream of consciousness was not just a prevalent technique uh, in literary fiction. If you pick up Sherlock Holmes, when I read some of the Sherlock Holmes novel as a kid, the thing that fascinated me was how he connected one thing to another, to another, to another, and which they showed brilliantly in the new BBC television adaptation as well. So that's the beauty of it. So the bottom line here is, if you want to write the best story ever written, you need to write it in a way that it makes people think, and it helps them connect the things around them and understand that the world is actually all connected. I'm going to end this here, and I want you to hold this thought and run it in your mind, and I hope it will help you, and I hope it will assist you to write better when next time you sit down to write. And until next time, keep reading. Cheers.